Hi, I'm Frank Rohr, President and Chief Scientist for Delta Waterfowl. I'm standing in a dry wetland in North Dakota in midsummer, mid-June, and that's pretty appropriate because things are drying out here in the Dakotas pretty rapidly. So let's start and cover the Prairie Pothole region. We'll go from South Dakota, North Dakota, and then on up into Canada. South Dakota started out fair, and the western and central part of the states were much drier than the eastern part of the state, but it has really dried out rapidly in South Dakota, and so the conditions are looking pretty bleak in the central part of the state, and only the northeastern part of South Dakota still has pretty good water. As you come across into North Dakota, we have the same thing. It's drier in the west than in the east. We had an incredible snow this winter, 50 inches of snow by Christmas time, but we didn't get any snow after that winter blast. And so we started out with some good runoff, filled the seasonals and temporaries up partway, but then no rain at all in western North Dakota. And so it's really dried out. Seasonals and temporary ponds, and those are the things that are really rich in invertebrates and drive renesting. Those things are drying up. So we're not going to have as strong a renesting effort in the Dakotas as we've had in past years. Western North Dakota is so dry, cattlemen are selling cattle now, mid-June, and they're having to sell cattle because there's no forage. So that's not a good thing for cattlemen, and of course, cattlemen are always good for ducks because ducks like grass and ducks like water. Let's shift to eastern North Dakota. Things are better here in eastern North Dakota, but you can see from this seasonal wetland, they're not great because this is the stuff that's preferred brood habitat when it's wet and it's dry. So the broods are going to have to go to the bigger wetlands. Let's go across the border into Canada.
Hi, I'm Matt Chenard, Senior Waterfowl Programs Manager for Delta Waterfowl. It's Saturday, June 10th, and I wanted to give you a quick habitat conditions update from southwestern Manitoba. This area is what we call the parklands. The parklands are characterized by lots of trees, farmland, some grass, and lots of wetlands, and it's very attractive to ducks. The habitat conditions here are really in pretty good shape. The semi-permanent and permanent wetlands are full. There are some seasonal and temporary wetlands here, though they're drying up fast. Hopefully we'll catch some more rains. The rains have been spotty this spring, and so some areas have caught rain and other areas are still not getting much precipitation this year. But for the most part, the conditions are in good shape. The ducks are nesting. I've seen mallard and canvasback broods here. Lots of goslings around. Lots of ducks nesting. Lots of ducks just here in general. So I think the conditions are in pretty good shape. Hopefully we'll catch some more rains and those breeding conditions will continue for the broods. In general though, the brood habitat conditions are in decent shape. As you can see, this cattail here, the water goes well into the cattail. That's important. Ducklings need a place to hide. In dry years, when the water doesn't extend into the cattail, they're pretty exposed to predators. So right now the conditions are in good shape. That's it from Manitoba.
But what's interesting about the parklands in Canada, as we go from Manitoba on the east over to Alberta, is normally Manitoba stays wetter than Alberta. It's the other way around this year. Manitoba started pretty good and is in okay shape, but as you go west and get into western Saskatchewan and into parkland Alberta, it's as wet as people can remember in years. There are fields many fields haven't been planted because it's so wet. Farmers just couldn't get into the fields, and the wetlands are topped up and in great shape. Even seasonals and temporaries seem to be holding water from all the recent rains. So that's unusual, and that bodes really well. For instance, pintails that nest in that western prairie and parkland, they'll be doing well this year. Now let's shift flyways. Let's go out to the Pacific Flyway. And we have to start with California because California winters so many ducks, but it also raises a lot of local mallards. California is wet as heck. All through the Central Valley, there's water everywhere. Water staying on so long that, again, fields aren't being planted. So excellent conditions throughout much of the Central Valley of California, which is really important for mallard production. The northeastern part of the state is also very wet. And I believe the same is true for Oregon and Washington. real good rains, lots of rains this summer, so the Pacific Flyway is in great shape for all that water. And of course, as you go farther north, you have much more stable water conditions in the far north for the Pacific. Let's shift and talk about the Atlantic Flyway. The Atlantic Flyway, of course, gets birds from the prairies, but it also gets, many of their mallards come from Ontario and Quebec. And again, Ontario and Quebec are very wet. There's been a lot of flooding in Quebec from so much rainfall. And Ontario, southern Ontario, is in great shape for water. So overall, I'd say the conditions are very good for ducks this year, and we should see a strong fall flight, particularly since we're carrying over a large duck population from last year. So good conditions report, in my opinion.